Hello, this is Dr. Melissa Cohen. I am going to go through an APA document here that's not quite, or that's missing some formatting, whatever reason, if the APA template got formatted incorrectly, or you have wrong settings on your your Microsoft Word, then that can also account for some of the changes so that your finished document doesn't actually look like an APA template. So what I'm going to do is go through and show you some of the features of Microsoft Word that are relevant to show you so that your final document goes by the APA format style. So we'll just start here. Make sure that your APA template you should have on the first page, it should actually say running head, and then in the capital letters type the abbreviated title here. So whatever your title is of your paper, it needs to be all capital letters, and you'll notice that the page numbers stay on the right hand side as well. So if you double click on this, you can just highlight the information here and make sure that, like I said, it's all capital letters. Now this is actually called your header of the page. So once you're finished with that, you can actually go up here and hit close header and footer, or you can just double click somewhere else on the page. Now the first page is your title page, so fill in your information as noted. And so then when you come down to page 2, you will also have to change the running head here, the header as well. But it actually does not say running head on page 2 and the rest of the pages. But you do need to type that abbreviated title in this header as well. And then you'll notice that the numbering system for each page should continue on the rest of the document. So what I didn't actually type anything in there, so I'm just going to leave it blank for right now. But make sure you do type in your actual title there. So I'm going to close the header and footer, and then we're going to go to the rest of the information. Now what I'm going to do at this point is start right here. This is the title. I'm going to highlight the entire rest of the document here, and you'll notice that even, let me scroll up here, that maybe some of your references formatting is going to be not right, but we're going to clean it all up in one fell swoop here. So I'm going to go make sure I'm in the home tab here. I'm going to go to the paragraph tab. I'm going to click on this little box here, and it's going to give me a big dialog box. So there's a couple things we need to look for. The first for this one is I want to make sure that it's all double space. So if you click on the box to the right, you can see it can be single space, 1.5, or double. So I need it to be all double. And then I also need to change the spacing before and after. And so this needs to, both of these need to be 0. And if it says auto, you need to keep clicking until it hits 0 points. And what that does is if you have a title or you have a level 1 heading, which is basically the black bold title in the middle between your paragraphs, sometimes there's extra space, and that extra space is not APA compliant. So your entire document needs to be double spaced. And I'm going to hit OK. So what I'm going to do now is go to the top of the document, page 2, and we'll start going through some more additional items here as well. So as you may or may not know, your title should actually be not bold. It's the title of your paper, and it should be centered. So that's what we're looking for. So that needs to be centered, and that's what that middle one means. And you can see the word center here. Now if you look at the entire first paragraph here, it's indented, and it doesn't follow the same formatting as the second paragraph. So there's a couple things we need to do. First of all, we need to go to layout, and we're going to hit margins. So APA should always be 1 inch on the top, the left, the bottom, and the right, and that's the normal. So the paper is set up for that, but if for some reason your margins get out of sorts, it should be 1 inch. Now with this paragraph, I'm going to highlight it, and when I do that, you can see this indent is 0.5 inches. And that's where we see this additional space here, because it has indented an additional 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to change that to 0. And then as I did that, you can see this paragraph moved over to the left-hand side. Okay, so we fixed that issue. Now, when we are doing paragraphs, we also need to go to the paragraph button, and we need to make sure that this indentation is set up correctly as well. So if you're doing a new paragraph, you see this white space where my cursor is. That means it's first line by 0.5 inches. So that's in half an inch, and that's the standard for APA. Okay, so make sure it says first line, okay, and then you hit okay, and it will change that. Now, as we move along, the next portion here, this is actually what we consider a level 1 heading in APA. It actually needs to be bold. The main words like description, theories, core concepts all need to have capital letters. The thing we need to change though is it also needs to be centered. So we're going to center that. We're going to look through the rest of the information here. This needs to be centered. Right, and then for this paper, which doesn't relate to the Bethel APA templates, we're not going to worry about this, so don't worry about the italics and the questions and things. That was something specific that my university asked for me to do in the papers. But what you will need to do is hit the reference. So if you click on the left side of the reference, what we're going to do is try to make sure that even if we go into the top part of the paper and we make some changes, that this references will always start on a new page. So what we do is we hit insert, we hit page break, and what it does is you see how it just skips from the top or the bottom of that page in that content there, and it starts on a new page. Now I'm going to be honest, just from my personal experience, sometimes if you go up in pages 1 through 4 and you make some changes, sometimes this references will move. So just check it one more time before you turn it in and make sure that you hit page break and it starts at a new page. So as you probably know, for references though, this is considered or similar to like the title page or the title on page 2, where it needs to be centered and it needs to be unbold. Now this, I'm going to show you how to do it. If you're formatting for your references become wonky, I say, or you don't know how to get this second and down here the second and the third lines to indent half an inch, I'm going to show you how to do that right now. What you need to do is go ahead and highlight all of your references and resources there, and we're going to go to the same place with the paragraph. So we're still on the home tab, we're on the paragraph, we're going to click and get this dialog box. But up here in the indentation, what we're going to do, instead of doing the first line indented by half an inch, and that was for any new paragraph, we're actually going to go to hanging. So that means the first line is going to be to the left, with your 1 inch margin, but anything else after that first line is going to be hanging in, and you need to change it to 0.5 inches. So if you have anything else different than 0.5, you need to change that as well. And then you can hit OK there. And so I do see a lot of these references are not, most people may not know how to do the hanging feature on that, and that's how you change that. So just to go over a couple of things real quick while I'm on the reference page here is, if you are using a website, you actually use the corporation's name first. Use that in place of what you'd consider the author. Still needs to be a period, a space, the date, and some people, I see a lot of no date. Well, there's a date, because there's either a copyright date on the bottom of that web page, or you can use the current date that you're actually used that website. And that's because websites do change. There are dates that go with that. And then this portion here is actually going to be the page, the title page of that website page. So sometimes it's in the top of the bar, or it could be just the title on the page as well. And you put retrieve from, and you put the full website address. That's so that any researcher that wants to go look at that information can find that information. So you do need the full website address. So the second reference here is actually an online news article here. So you definitely need to make sure you follow the information there. So this has the author's last name, because it's a news article by Prophet. but it actually had an author. So the author's last name, first initial. If there's more than one, I think you know how to do that. You actually put the year, comma, and then the date. So if there's, it looks like this was just February. There wasn't a February 6th or February 8th. But if there was an actual number date, you need to put that in there. You just put space number 8 if that is applicable. Put the title of the article, and then once again you put the mass media, the journals, not the journal, but the name of the periodical or mass media. And then you also do the retrieve from once again, and you put the full website address. And now I think most of these we already know how to do. So you do have a journal here. The Harvard Business Review is a journal. It is not peer reviewed though, but for Bethel's requirements, it does meet the academic requirement and scholarly requirement, so you can use it. But just as a information source here, it is not peer reviewed. And then as you can see, here are the author names, the year of publication, the name of the article title, the journal is in italics, you've got the volume number, the issue number, the page numbers. Now if you have a DOI number for the article, you can put that here. If you don't, you put retrieved from, and then you put the journal's home page website. I know Bethel allows, I guess, a lot of people will just do the website address with the EBSCO host or ProQuest host in it. So for the purposes of my class, that's fine, but it is not APA correct. So just to give you that information there. So hopefully some of this information I gave you will help you become better Microsoft Word users, as well as making sure that your paper, for whatever reason, it loses some of the formatting when you're typing and such, and make sure that you turn in an APA compliant paper. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.